Jade.
Oh.
My DBA, my doing business as name is Heritage Home and Garden.
Self-sustained nutrition.
Yes.
And basic composting.
Yes. And Mr. Michael's going to be teaching us about, what does he do?
Composting.
Organic composting. Yes. Give
How
her
do
a
you
book.
compost?
Okay, that's actually this is a product of my compost. Bought this property years ago with the intention of developing it. So there's been a lot of growth and development in this area. It left a bare spot of ground. So I like gardening. Let me see if I can get something to grow. So I decided to do a little bit of gardening here. These high tunnels that you see here, recently worked with the U.S. Department of Agriculture to get those built. A little bit of insulation, you can get an early start on the season. Let me kind of show you the high tunnels.
All right.
If you kind of walk back, you can see
Yes.
that it's two of them to cover. So meet in the middle, and one of these days I'm going to have to do something with the drainage. But for now, this is the outside. 70. What would you say the temperature is in here?
Woo.
Like summertime.
90 degrees.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome.
So I already have the crops growing in the ground, so this gives me cover over those crops, and that's one of the requirements for the high tunnel. If you're talking about sustainable agriculture or sustainable nutrition, in the old days, people relied on the soil to feed the plants. Nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium out of petroleum products. So they decided to shortcut the process, and ever since, shortly after World War II, we've been using chemicals for fertilizer, and now we're realizing when we do that, there are unintended consequences. The plants don't get all the nutrients that they need. The other one, and going to be using some of the different tools to get the ground ready. There's grass and weeds that start to grow up, especially once it gets warm, they'll grow even faster.
Is it a peach tree?
It is. Sustainable. One of the things that you can do is mulch your trees. It helps keep the moisture in, and it also improves the soil. So soil health. It'll feed the plants, and you'll have healthy plants. Use mode to turn my compost. Let's see, got different implements for I'm doing like a job cleaning up. I've got a big rake there. What else? Got a post hole digger there that goes on the back of the tractor. One of the things that I do as part of my business is tree trimming. There's a variety of different types of woods. This is a hardwood. This is really good wood for like barbecuing or firewood. It's called dead metal. It is a weed, but if you look it up, you'll see that the fact that it grows here tells me something about the soil. This weed likes to be in soil that's high in nitrogen. So I know if I want to plant corn, this tells me this is a good place to plant corn.
These look like green onions.
Yeah, actually that is a green onion.
Yes. We're going to doing that at home.
This right here, I can tell by the leaf color, is a daikon radish.
Daikon radish.
Yes.
Wow.
And they call this a tillage radish because that deep root goes in and it breaks up the soil. So instead of having to run that disc through and break up the soil and disturb the soil life, you grow this and it does it naturally.
Nice.
And then before I plant for the spring, I'll go in and kind of terminate this, mow it a little bit, and the residue that remains on the soil will help protect the soil and break down and feed the soil.
Nice.
These are milder.
Okay.
It tastes a lot like a turnip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll let you or somebody kind of hold
Thank
that. And
you.
Like these mustard greens, I like to eat my food natural.
Uh-huh.
I know that there's no chemicals sprayed on it, so
Yeah. Yeah.
just
the
as
best.
tender
It's
as
the
can
best.
be. Yep.
Yeah.
And it has a like wasabi flavor to it.
That's awesome. And he said these are mustard greens?
Yes. I know these are, but yeah, there's some collards, some turnip greens in there.
I love that. That's pretty
some
cool.
Winter peas, like winter peas are legumes, and they fix nitrogen from the atmosphere. The atmosphere is actually made up of a variety of gases. Okay. There's two primary ones. One is oxygen, which we need to breathe, and the other is nitrogen. Do you know what percentage of the atmosphere is nitrogen? Just take a guess.
50?
Higher.
70.
78.
78.
So we've got all this nitrogen in the air, and the plants need nitrogen, but they can't just pull it out of the air. So the thing that legumes like peas and beans do, they have the ability to take nitrogen out of the air, put it in their roots, and it helps feed other plants. So in this mix, you'll actually see some peas, and if we run across some, I'll point them out to you.
Awesome. Hopefully I'm not standing on
That's
any.
the benefit of this mix, is that it has everything that the soil needs, so that come spring, this soil is healthy and ready to plant and grow good, nutritious food.
Nice.
Okay. One of the things that I do for my composting, you see those bags over there.
Yeah.
I know that, like at the grocery store, they throw out bunches and bunches of produce every day. That's just one grocery store that I go to. So I talked to them and asked them if I could collect their scrap produce for composting. And they told me I had to get a letter from the health department. And so I went round and round and round and round, and finally got that letter.
Awesome.
And they told me, people have been asking about doing this for years, and you were the first person that figured out how to do it and actually get a permit from the health department to recycle our scrap waste.
That's awesome.
So I pick up the bags and I mix it in with my wood chips, my leaves, and compost it. The bags that I get with, stacked up over there.
Yeah.
I know a guy that's in landscaping, and what he'll do is he'll come pick up those bags, and in the fall he goes around and gathers up leaves, fills them up, brings them back and brings me leaves, and then I'll mix those in the compost. So not only are we recycling the leaves, we're recycling the bags.
That's great. That's great.
So over here we have some leaves that he's brought in. We have some wood chips. Different organic material has a different carbon to nitrogen ratio. Wood is maybe 200 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen. For composting, ideally you want about 30 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen. So what? 30 to 1 carbon to nitrogen ratio. Okay? So I've got these wood chips that have a whole lot of carbon in them, and I've got like coffee grounds that are maybe like a 20 to 1. A 20 to 1 carbon ratio. When I mix them together, it works out to where eventually there's enough nitrogen in there to start breaking down the carbon.
Awesome.
And the reason that this stuff turns black is because part of composting is decomposition. So all of that carbon starts to be more concentrated as the moisture and all those things evaporate and are processed by the biology. What's your question?
I wanted to ask if I can touch it.
Sure. Absolutely.
It's way more different than the ones at home.
So
Yes, it's the wood
These have been
chickpeas.
here for a little while, so
Because we mix ours
here's
in.
what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just kind of dig in there and see where it gets kind of wet.
Uh-huh.
For composting, you need carbon, nitrogen, water, and air. So you can see where that moisture is on the inside. It doesn't evaporate off. That's where most of the composting is happening.
Awesome.
And part of the reason that we have to turn it every once in a while, and when I say turn it, you got to like remix it so that that stuff on the inside gets on the outside.
Yep.
The stuff on the outside gets on the inside.
Yeah.
And when this is actively composting, it'll get hot. Ideally, like 140 degrees.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know how hot the water is in your water heater at home?
I have no idea.
Like heck of hot. I literally burned myself taking a shower today. Like it really hurt.
I don't know.
Typically, they say to keep it safe, you want it at maybe like 120 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this water is hotter. I mean, this pile would get hotter than the hot water in your home.
Wow. That's awesome.
So as it, you know, it cools down. And what's interesting, you know why it heats up like that?
Fermentation?
What is fermentation?
It's the process where it's breaking down, right?
You know, from my understanding, fermentation is more of an anaerobic process.
Okay.
Yeah. This, we want it to be aerobic. We want it to have oxygen.
Uh-huh.
So, part of what causes it to heat up is that the bacteria in here, they're eating the carbon, they're breaking down the carbon, they're eating the nitrogen, they're eating all the good stuff in here, and that activity actually causes it to heat up.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
it's actually a biological process that causes it to heat up like that.
Wow. That's
And the
pretty cool.
benefit of that is that if there are weeds, you know, like we looked at some of the different weeds that are growing there. There's a whole variety of weeds that will grow
Yeah.
as the season comes on. But it'll get hot enough to kill those weed seeds. So if you hot compost, you don't have to worry about weeds ending up in your garden or in your plants.
Nice.
All right.
Go ahead, go for it.
Part of why you smell those different big, you know, I've
Awesome.
got a bag over there of it. And I'll just kind of pour it on top, and I'll come over with a pitchfork and mix it in. When it rains, it'll all kind of get mixed in, but this,
It smells so good.
you know, this is kind of the older part of it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so
I mean,
cool.
can you see that?
Yeah.
The steam coming out of there?
Yeah.
It's hot in there.
Do you usually get bugs in here?
Yes. Feel how warm that is?
That's
Yeah.
that is warm.
Yeah. So that's those microbes. Yeah. So that's those microbes enjoying all this natural food and reproducing.
Yeah.
And when I apply this finished compost or that finished compost to the garden, then the soil already has the microbial life to feed the plants.
Nice.
So I don't have to do as much work because my employees, the microbes, are working for me. I'll go around with my mower, with my vacuum on the back, and mow them up, and they'll pay me for that service. And then I bring those leaves over here and add them to my compost pile.
Nice.
And break down so much better because they're already chopped up and they have more surface area. So they compost even better.
Nice.
So you can see, you know, over time I'll start adding coffee grounds to it. I'll come in with the tractor, kind of lift it up and mix it all together. Okay, so this is the one that I had earlier, and what I did is I mixed it in, and I like to bury it. I don't want to leave the food on the top because it'll attract
rodents.
gnats and pests and rodents and things like that. So what I'll do So I'll go pick it up at the grocery store, bring it in. This one just happened to have a lot of potatoes in it, but it turns from time to time. So, you know, I like to get a good mix. These are some of the leaves that the landscaper, landscape guy brought.
Yeah.
So, mix a few of those on top so that the food is not exposed.
Cool.
Sometime within the next few days, I'll get the tractor and turn it over so that the stuff on the outside gets on the inside.
Yeah. Coffee grains.
Actually, there's a couple of local coffee houses too that I pick up from as well. Coffee is also good for promoting fungal activity, which is fungi.
Mm-hmm.
And fungi break down wood.
Nice. Okay.
Wood has lignin in it, and fungus is the only thing that can really break wood down.
Got it. Okay.
It actually helps create humus or soil material.
Perfect.
So what I'll do, broken down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looks really good.
So yep, that started out as wood chips, watermelons, potatoes. Little sifting racks that I made.
Uh-huh.
And what I'll do is put it in there, sift it out so that the fine stuff goes through, and that's what I use for my starter mix. Potting soil starter mix is actually rather expensive,
Very.
but they use chemical fertilizer in theirs.
Okay.
So if I make it myself, my seeds are born in a natural environment.
Yeah.
They learn how to interact with microbes, so they do better organically.
Nice. Awesome. So that's what the definition of organic composting versus.
And I guess you could do composting with chemicals, but yeah, if it's organic, it consists of organic, meaning natural compounds,
Gotcha.
which is, you know, carbon-based material, no petroleum-based, you know, no chemicals.
Nice.
Has been developing its methods for
Man.
millions of years. So back in the 40s, man decided, hey, I can do a better job than nature.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of why that there's so much money in those hospitals over there because there's so much disease.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time that we started using this chemical and mechanical farming, disease, cancer started going up.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a link between the quality of the food and the health of the people eating.
Yes.
How long is your composting process until it's ready for you?
That's anywhere from 10 to 12 months.
What would your advice or word of encouragement for a family seeking a more self-sustained lifestyle be?
You know, if you have space, utilize it instead of spending resources on grass.
Thank you for having us here today. Thank you guys for watching.
We appreciate you sharing your information and your knowledge over your years of experience.